On everybody, you got Dustin here with DFS Dads, and I'm gonna be bringing you some plays for Week 10 of the NFL DFS season. If you haven't, go check us out, dfsdads.com, Facebook and Twitter, the DFS Dads. Our lineup last week absolutely smashed on Cash Core. I did well in GPPs. So come join us, make some money, have some fun. All right, so I'm gonna go through a couple quarterbacks, wide receivers, running back, tight end, and a couple defenses, some punt defenses this week. And like I said in our previous videos, we play a lot of these guys, depending on our lineup construction, but we will play some of these players that we mentioned in our cash core and or our single entry. So the first guy that really stuck out to me, and he just beats Father Time, is Tom Brady. Early ownership is lower than I would have thought. He's 7,600 on DraftKings, 83 on FanDuel. Dude comes in number one passing TDs. He's second in yards. He has the best protection rate of any quarterback. Obviously helps. Number one in air yards, so he's not just dinking and dunking. He's chunking it deep to his playmakers. He's number one in fantasy points per game. And Washington is giving up the most passing yards of any defense. And then on the flip side, the Bucs have thrown for the most yards. So, Tom Brady's back-to-back 4-touchdown games, passing touchdowns, had a 5 passing touchdown game, 4 weeks ago or something like that. So the dude's been absolutely on fire, has tons of weapons, in a game that they're gonna win, but they've proven that they're gonna score, and they don't really let up until, middle of the fourth. So love Tom Brady and pretty much anything, especially if his ownership stays low. I know it's early projections, but I love him. My low guy, more of a GPP play, Matty Ice, has had a really solid year. He does have a couple games here and there where he doesn't do much, but he has 4 300-yard passing games of the 8 games that he's played so far this year. Dallas is 25th versus the pass. They throw a lot, 38 times. They don't have a real true running game. Mike Davis and Cordell Patterson kind of, alternate there at the running back, more gadgety type stuff. He's 9th in completed air yards. So, he's throwing the ball deep. Obviously no Ridley, but, Pitts has come along. You got Gage still there, Cordell Patterson, he's been tearing it up. So, Matty Ice will throw it to anybody, and they have a good scheme there. So in Dallas, even though they're my team, susceptible to a lot of things on the defensive side. So like Matty Ice here, he can throw 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and, get you a lot of points. All right, moving on down to running backs. Easy play this week as far as top-end guy is Harris for the Steelers going up against Detroit. The guy just is volume. Number one in snap share, weighted opportunity, second in targets and carries, 25 plus touches every week on average, averaging almost 20 fantasy points per game as well. Like I said, Detroit's 29th versus the run, and he's game script proof, as we all know, because he catches a lot of passes as well. He's had over 121 all-purpose yards in 4 of his last 6. So he's been running the ball. The offense really been running the ball a lot better. And then you get the soft Detroit Lions. So love Harris there. He's 79 on DraftKings and 94 on FanDuel. So you got to pay up if you want him. A guy we just talked about coming in next, Cordell Patterson, 6,400, I believe. I left his price off my sheet here. Let's see. 6,600, my apologies, on DraftKings. Not quite sure what he is on FanDuel. I'll have to go look later, but he averages about 15 touches per game through both carries and targets. He sees a healthy volume, though. It's not like it's sporadic. He's going to get nine carries and then 6-7 targets with obviously room for more. Mike Davis has been pretty terrible, so they might just give him more touches. Snap share has risen. He's playing more over the last 4 weeks. to 60+%, which for running backs is more than enough. He has 7 TDs on the year. He's their playmaker, their big play guy. Obviously had that big catch last week on the field goal range and then won. He averages 12.2 yards per reception, and he's number 1 running backs with 459 receiving yards. So very dynamic. You're going against the Cowboys, like I said, give up some chunk plays and aren't very good on defense. So I like him in that spot, high over under there in that game. Easy one, he's going to be super high owned, especially if Chubb doesn't come off the COVID list, is Deontay Johnson. Obviously don't have much to look at as far as the stats besides the one game where he actually absolutely lit it up. So, but what we do know, Cleveland averages, they just dropped a second in rush yards per game to 160. The Ravens are 161, so they just leapfrog them. New England's middle of the road versus the run, so they're not great, and Cleveland's going to establish the run. And if Chubb is out, he's getting the lion's share. So he's going to get 24 plus touches, both running and receiving. Full workload with arguably the best O-line, and at 4,700 on DraftKings and 5,400. He will be in our cash core should Chubb be out 100%. You just can't not play him. All right, going down to receivers. Pairing with my quarterback, Brady, is Godwin. With Brown out, he's been an absolute monster. He's number 1 PFF rating against cornerbacks with a 98.3 advantage. He has 16 catches on 23 targets for 251 yards and 2 TDs over his last 2. He's been in our lineup the last 2 weeks too. So, for what it's worth, you got to play him this week again, especially against Washington. Like I said, they're bad against the pass, and they allow the second most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Don't really need to go into much more detail there. Godwin is an easy play at 7,100 and 7,800 on FanDuel. My next receiver that I like is Deontay Johnson, Mr. Do-It-All. He took over Antonio Brown's role there in Pittsburgh with Big Ben. Gets 10 targets a game, and that's with a couple outlier games where he had 1 target one week and then got hurt another week. So, he literally sees, 11 plus targets pretty much every week. 90% snap share. He's on the field the whole game. He got 2 rushes last game. They obviously try to get him the ball as many aspects as possible. He's 5th in target share. So when they are throwing, he's a ball hog. He gets 2 deep shots per game, which is obviously a plus because one big play like he had. I think he had 1 catch for 70 something yards a few weeks back, and it was for a touchdown, and then he didn't do anything else. So the big play potential obviously can help for your daily fantasy purposes. 9th in yards after catch, so he's dynamic. They're going to get him the ball as much as they can. Him and Harris are the go-to guys there. Claypool, not many other guys see much. Moving on down, my cheap play, a guy that I played often is Beasley, especially on DraftKings where you get full point per reception. He's got 24 targets over the last 2, 18 catches. The Jets are 30th against the pass. Buffalo passes it 40 times per game, so there's plenty to go around. He's 8th in receptions on the year of all wide receivers. Beasley is, and he's got double-digit targets in half of those games. So pretty easy play at 5,200 on DraftKings and 61 on FanDuel. Doesn't take much for him to pay off. 7 for 70 is almost 3x. So, and then obviously a touchdown, he's easily going to pay off. All right, moving to tight ends. One guy I like this week that's a cheaper play is Dan Arnold. His volume for his price point this week, especially on DraftKings, is only 3,500. He's 51 on FanDuel, so I like him a lot more on DraftKings. But then he's 26th worst against opposing tight ends. They give up an average of 6 catches for 60 yards. Which right there is almost 4x for Arnold, and he's used a lot more than most tight ends, especially in that Jacksonville offense. with a lot of their injuries. Like I said, 17 targets last 2 weeks. He was their leading pass catcher and playmaker last week. And he's cheap, and he has 0 touchdowns on the year. So, you figure sooner or later he's going to grab a TD, and he has plenty of upside at 3,500, even if he doesn't score. So he can easily 5 or 6x, if he has a 7 for 70 with a touchdown game. All right, going on to our defense is our punt D. If you were with us last week, we had the Chiefs, and they paid off easily for us, played very well. And this week I got 2, kind of haven't decided on which one I like more, but I got Carolina, 24, DraftKings, 3,600 on FanDuel. Arizona's banged up. We don't know if Murray's going to play. I don't know if Hopkins is going to play. Edmonds is doubtful. And, Carolina has a pretty good defense overall. They're good against the run, good against the pass. So I could just see them, stymieing the Arizona offense should Murray sit. And, I think they'll be able to stop James Conner from running the ball. So just kind of more, if Murray sits, then I elevate them for sure. Another one at 20, the Jags at 2,200, 3,500 on FanDuel, mainly because they're good against the run. You got Indy, who Jonathan Taylor's been pretty explosive as far as their offense goes. There's a lot of big plays. And so if they can limit that big play, force Carson to beat them, then I think, that can lead to some good things. They obviously have some momentum after stymieing Buffalo there last week to 6 points. And, I think Buffalo's a better offensive squad, especially at the quarterback play, with Wentz. He's not as mobile. He forces it a lot. So I think the Jags have some good upside. They obviously have the pass rush working pretty well too. So, all right, guys, those are the DFS Dad plays of the week. Look for our deep dive on dfsdads.com for more of our plays. And we always do, we post our cash core double ups and then our single entry as well. So come check us out and make some money. Good luck, guys.